Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these watches, subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews, and then I can deliver reviews like this to your inbox as soon as tomorrow. Plus, I'd really appreciate it. If you like this watch, you can buy it on our website, thewatchbox.com. Buy, trade, and sell luxury watches globally and 24 hours a day on thewatchbox.com. Today we are discussing the 2014 Jaeger-LeCoultre Tribute to Geophysic. In rose gold, as you see here, it was a 300-piece limited series paying tribute to the 1958 Jaeger-LeCoultre E168 Geophysic, which was, at the time, Jaeger-LeCoultre's response to the likes of the Patek Philippe Anti-Magnetic series, the Rolex Milgauss, the IWC Ingenieur, and in a very real sense, this watch is the legitimate heir to all of those. This is the closest thing you can buy in the modern era to a JLC Ingenieur or Milgauss. So the watch is 38.5 millimeters across the round of the case, a bit bigger than the original, which was downright petite at 35 millimeters, but it preserves the most interesting aspects of the watch's style. The timepiece features a remarkably stubby set of lugs that wear almost vintage. At only 45.1 millimeters across the wrist, the watch wears about as compact as you would expect a 35-36 millimeter watch to wear. After all, a 36 millimeter Datejust only stretches about 44 millimeters across the wrist. It's relatively slim, 11.4 millimeters thick, and that in spite of a solid case back over a soft anti-magnetic internal cage. You will note that there is a profile to the bezel. It's sloped and conical, so this will easily slide underneath a dress cuff. Now the case itself features not just a narrow lug-to-lug span, but stubby lugs. They're 19 millimeters apart, so if you want to accessorize, 19 millimeters is the lug spacing, but the lugs are rather short cropped and tightly downturned. We'll talk about their shape in a moment, but they're combined with a surprisingly substantial strap. As you can see, the strap features no bolstering, but it does have a sheer edge, so it's a little bit blockish in profile, thick and burly. It nicely matches the swell of the lugs. You'll also note that it is a large rectangular alligator leather scale with semi-gloss finish. It is dark brown with a monotone stitch, and it features calfskin on the underside, a Jaeger-LeCoultre rose gold pin buckle, logo style, the logo being blasted, the remainder being polished, thoughtfully executed. And then we talk about this case, and we really need to highlight how much is going on here because it's one of the most nuanced modern cases from JLC. First, you can see a screwed-in case back. It's more robust than its predecessor, rated at 100 meters water resistant. But you also note that there is a satin striation that runs circumferentially. You'll see it along the flanks of the lugs and the flanks of the case, but you'll also note that the lugs are dramatically stepped out, so there's a sharp cleft between the case band and the lugs. This is not a blended Calatrava-style lug. Moreover, and we should get real close here so I can show it to best advantage, you can see that there's a handsome bevel about the profile of the lug. Though the lug hoods are all of polish, there is a transitional rounded surface that's gorgeous, and you'll note that the faceted end is also of high polish. You'll note that there is also a bevel that runs the underside of the lugs, beautifully polished. It spans the case band and unites the watch across the bottom, even as the polished vertical portion of the bezel unites the case band horizontally across the top. Now you'll also be able to see from this angle that the lugs are somewhat superimposed over the bottom of the bezel. This allows JLC to have a larger, taller, more pronounced arc to the lugs, while at the same time sinking the bezel into the plane of the lugs. So the bezel rides a little bit lower than the lugs, allowing them to be full in form and the watch to be thinner overall. Clever case construction there. The conical profile of the bezel is historically inspired and of high polish. It gives way to a sapphire that is almost completely flat, and you'll note that the dial of the watch channels one of the rarest variations of the 1958 Geophysic. The crosshair dial represents the steel as well as the rose gold tribute to Geophysic, but in the original 1958 production run, the crosshair dial was distinctly in the minority of those produced. It's a handsome look though, so it may be for the best that JLC chose this as the mainstream dial. You'll also note that there is a pattern outboard attached to the bezel, and that is actually the track for the luminescent indices that correspond to each of the hours. The reason for this is that the original Geophysic featured radium lume on the underside of the crystal, And this approximates that arrangement. So you actually have something very similar to the original without the same vulnerability of having lume tacked onto a crystal. Moreover, you'll note that the dial itself features a very subtle pebbly grain. It is not a simple matte white, and it is anything but flat. It has a rich grained texture to it, and if I can give us even a little bit more light, you might be able to see it to better advantage as I turn it through its gyrations with respect to the camera. Let's get closer if we can. Yeah, we can. Okay. Now you can see that texture to good effect. All of the appliques are in rose gold. The hands at center are broadsword style in rose gold. There's a gorgeous lancet style counterweighted seconds hand, and you can see that the minute and seconds track outboard features a miniature Arabic numeral for easy reading. It is an engineer style of watch. 1958 was considered to be an international geophysical year, a year of science across nations. A great deal of research was conducted. There was a whole spate of expeditions organized, and yes, it is true, the original captain of the USS Nautilus, which sailed underneath the North Pole during this period, did receive a geophysic as a gift, and this watch right here is representative of that era in style, but the modern era in materials. Hence the all-gold appliques, the standard of pebbly finish, that wonderful grain of the dial base, and the caliber 898-1 that sits within. So here is where modern watchmaking comes to the fore, because this is still designed to be the archetype of a technical watch, a precise instrument. It's calibrated to what used to be called the 1,000-hour chrono, a standard that came out in 2009 for grand complications. JLC normally tunes its watches to something approaching COSC standards. -1 plus 6 is the master controls standard tuning. COSC, of course, is -4 plus 6. This is -1 plus 4. So this is the most precisely regulated mainstream Jaeger-LeCoultre you could buy. Now, caliber 898-1 is automatic winding with a 43-hour power reserve, and virtually unique in the JLC catalog, this one features a soft iron cage like a Milgauss to protect the movement against magnetism. Automatic winding, it features unidirectional action for efficiency, unidirectional being more efficient than bidirectional, and it features ceramic rotor bearings for high efficiency as well as reduced maintenance requirements. Of course, the crown does enable hacking or stop seconds, so you can halt the time to synchronize precisely to a reference, because what's a technical watch without the ability to set precisely? That said, it is a push-down crown. The watch is, however, 100 meters water-resistant, beaten away at 28,800 vibrations per hour, made entirely by Jaeger-LeCoultre. Of course, JLC of Le Sentier, Switzerland, Canton of Jura, is a complete manufacturer, and in many ways was the prototype of the modern Swiss manufacturer. A handsome watch, a rare watch, an accurate watch, and a tribute to a grand era of JLC engineering and design, this 2014 Tribute to Geophysic is a sensational all-arounder, and in rose gold, it has a warmth and approachable character to it that your average engineer's watch simply can't match. See it and make it yours on our website. And we're back with the Jaeger-LeCoultre Tribute to Geophysic in rose gold. I should mention, among its many virtues, this watch also features a free-sprung balance for shock resistance with a double laser-welded hairspring at the stud and the collet, so that hairspring is staying put and the watch is staying regulated. You'll note those little luminescent pips fixed to the interior of the bezel that I mentioned earlier, and thanks to the polish of the interior bezel, you can see each one is reflected in the metal itself.